Hey there,
Hey,
Daniel is
boss.
also joining us. Hey there.
It's a pleasure.
It's it's been. I feel like I haven't seen you. I haven't talked to you actually for a long time. I think last Friday session something that we did not have, and yep, that's fine.
Yes, I couldn't attend, but I'm here now, ready.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Yeah, it's been like 1 week without covering um, or studying, talking, discussing about literary content, right? I've been talking just about phonetics for the whole week. So I
Mhm.
really missed literature. And the topic, according to our planning, curricular or syllabus planning, it has to do with the Canterbury tales. That's uh, that's something that we need to start talking this week. But first, before we deal with the Canterbury tales, I'm going to propose a short activity. And for this activity, you need to type very quickly in the chat your answer, all right? So you're going to
Yeah.
listen to 5 questions, and you need to type as fast as possible according to, your typing skills, the answer as soon as you hear the question. Ready for this short activity?
Yes, ready.
Okay. All right. Good. Daniel said ready. I hope everyone is. So for this activity, remember, for those of you who just arrived, you will listen to 5 questions and you need to type the answer in the chat box. Okay? You need to type the answer in the chat box. Okay, the first question is some drumming. The question is, what's your favorite movie ever? What's your favorite movie ever? Type your answer in the chat. And if you have two, of course you have to type it, right? Wow, many options. I think I haven't watched Mean Girls, Great Gatsby, yes. Green Book, no. Very good suggestions, though. Second question. What's your favorite color? Very easy. What's your favorite color? Hunger Games, Mulan, all right. So, favorite color? Orange, red, light blue, all right. Yellow, black, pink, all right. Blue. Ready for question number 3? Question number 3 is, which is your dream vacation or place for a dream vacation? Where would you go if you could travel right now and you had all the resources, the money, the time, etc., etc.? Where would you travel? Anywhere in the world. Wow. Japan, London, New York, Scotland, South Korea, and Japan. Right. I think I missed Italy. The fourth question, question number 4 is, England. All right. The fourth question is, if you were not in this teaching program, what would you be doing? If not in an English teaching program, what would you be doing? Either working or studying? What would you be studying if not English pedagogy? If you can only imagine English pedagogy, you type that. Okay, history. Spanish pedagogy, sports journalism, pastor chef, pedagogy, we don't know. All right. Okay, a flight assistant, all right. Architecture. Okay, don't know. And the last question, question number 5. What's your favorite character, movie character or book character ever? Do you have a favorite movie character or book character? No favorite book character or movie character? Okay. Goethe from the Vikings, right? Or Johnny Depp characters, Craig Gatsby. Serious. Anyway, Alice. Who's starring for Alice for Resident Evil? What's the name of that actress? The Joker, but the one. Okay, by Heather Ledger. Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, Hermione Granger, right? Mila Jovovich, right? All right. Very quick answers. Good, good. Liked all the answers. Some of them you had to think. Some of them were just, pouring from yourself, right? All right. Now, I have a big question. Is any group ready to give a presentation on any of the Canterbury tales? So it's sort of a big question, right? Darius, last answer by Maria Ignacia. Yes.
I am.
You are. You are. Let me see who's answering this mysterious voice. Because I'm not seeing any little hand or highlight section.
Here, Maria
Okay.
Ignacia, the wife of Bath.
Okay. So you are ready, you're willing, you are voluntarily giving your presentation, you're not being forced by anyone?
Let me, yes.
Okay. And you're giving your...
In the chat, the Vianis, oh, I don't know how to say your name, I'm sorry. Visania?
Visania.
Visania.
Yes, Visania.
Says that she's ready to, but we don't know if we are going to do it in order of the Canterbury, so I don't know how, if someone picked another category, so we do it in order, or we just offer volunteer?
That is a good question. Now, as the presentations and all the sequence of book reports unravel, we're going to see that all of you are going to contribute to the understanding of the Canterbury Tales as a story within a story. And I'm sure that with the information you're going to give about this particular tale, it's going to be clear that there's a specific order, that there is a prologue and a prologue in each tale. And I'm sure you're going to be contributing also with the understanding of the social structure of the medieval times. So I don't think it's quite necessary. I mean, it would be really a good idea to have them in order. But last time I checked, there weren't as many tales to follow a particular order. Visania, please. We cannot hear you, Visania. So, Bisania, you raised your hand. Are you typing in the chat box? Yes. Okay. Yes, we can't hear you. But you can type your comment, maybe. Okay. So,
Professor, we can start with the wife, if I don't know if you heard me.
yes, I think you said you can, right?
Yes, we can start with the wife of Bath.
Okay, all right. That would be wonderful. Do all of you have a general understanding of Geoffrey Chaucer's life, his contribution to English literature? Why is his literary work, why has it been included in this syllabus? And why the Canterbury Tales are an important piece of literature. Do you have that understanding? So we can go and jump into one of the tales?
Well, at what point, Josie, I saw you.
Yes, we have that information.
Great.
We know about it.
Great. And you're going to share it with the rest of the audience, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing so you can take over the lesson, all right?
Thank you.
All right.
So, hi classmates.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
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 Okay. Good morning, everyone. We are going to present The Wife of Bath. And Josie, can you talk a little bit, because my computer is going to the power is going to go off. So I'm gonna go for the charger.
Okay, The Wife of Bath is our tale. It is from the Canterbury Tales, and it was written by Geoffrey Chaucer. So I don't know if Maria Ignacia is ready.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in order for us to start talking about the tale and about the story of the tale, we want to contextualize you a little bit. And this is very short. We are talking about a story, a tale that was around 1,400 years in the 14th, 13th century. So as you can imagine, at that time, people did not have proper ways of traveling around. There were no cars, there were only horses. So in order for them to commute from one place to another, they had to walk or go through a boat and horse riding. And this was so much safer when they were on a groups. So that's how Canterbury Tales begins. This is a group of people that are traveling from London to Canterbury, and in the way they share stories in order not to get bored, as they had to walk a long ride until arrive to Canterbury. In this Caribbean, they were a lot of characters, but we are going to focus on the story of the wife of Pat. Also, it is necessary to understand that this story has a prologue where the wife talks a little more and contextualizes why is she telling this tale, and then goes the tale. Okay, so the wife start talking about how she's someone who has had a lot of experience in life, and that she thinks that she should definitely talk about marriage, love, and sex because that's what she has experienced, and that's what her tale was going to be about. She says that she has had 5 husbands, and she does mention that she has married the majority of them because of the money they own and not because they love them. 1 second. Okay, then she talks about how people should get married as often as they want and have as many kids as they want because it's what the Bible says, or what she interprets. Because, well, at that time, the Bible was in Latin, and not all people talked Latin, speak Latin, read Latin. So whenever she quotes the Bible, it is because someone has quoted the Bible before to her because she never read the Bible. Okay. So despite that she has no kids, what tells us that she has primarily been married to old men, and also she mentions that her first husband was when she was 12. What probably tells us that that's why she doesn't have any kids, because at that time medicine was not advanced, and the damage caused by miscarriages will be something that probably ruined her chances to ever reproduce. Okay, so she starts talking about how great her marriages has been, but not for the part of the relationship, but it was great to have a partner that satisfies her intimately, if you understand me. She talks about how marriage is a waste of time because there is no such thing as a happy marriage, and that a husband married to a really pretty girl will immediately assume that her wife is cheating on him. And in the other side, if the wife is an older woman, an ugly woman, who is very faithful to the husband, he will always be upset that his wife is not pretty enough. Then she tells us the story about how she met her fifth house, her husband number 5. Sorry. while she was still married to the husband number 4. But she tells she was so deeply in love with this young boy that she tells the young boy that she's going to marry him, but only when she became a widow. Okay. Her 4th husband did die, but she never mentioned how she died, if the young boy killed him or it was because he was old. It never mentioned, but at the end she marries the young boy. Okay. She mentions that unlike her past husbands, she marries the young boy because she was deeply in love with him. She was in love with his looks and how, mainly his looks, okay? But husband number 5 turns out to be the worst husband of all. He beats her vigorously and violently because she wanted to rule over him, and he didn't like that. Okay, he actually had a book about how wives are awful, and he will read it every day in front of her. She didn't like this book because it was not appropriate. So one day she tore apart some pages out of the book, and he got so mad at her that he hit her, and she went deaf. Okay, so it is important that in this story, uh, the other part of the Caribbean always complained that the wife was so loud, but it was because she was dead, because she was beaten by her husband, her 5th husband. Well, the story begins when the fire of the Caribbean jumps into the wife's story to tell her that she has gave so much preamble to tell the story that the please tell the story soon, at what she responds that her story is about to begin. And that's our prologue. I know it's a little bit long, but now it's our tale. The story takes place in the King Arthur's kingdom, where fairy tales and witches were mingled around. Okay, there was a knight, and the knight was riding around when he sees a woman besides the river, and becomes so enraged with lust that he rapes her. But he was caught, and King Arthur was going to execute him, but the queen intercedes by the knight, and decided to give him an opportunity to save his life. 1 second. Need a little bit of water. She sent him on a 1 year and a day mission where he had to find the answer to the question, what women desire the most? If he couldn't find the answer in the year the queen gave him, and if he couldn't find an answer that pleases the queen, he was going to get executed. But if he could find the answer, the queen will forgive his life. The knight went on this mission asking every single soul that he encountered, and the question, what women desire the most? Some people answer wealth. Some people answer position in the society, because we know that at that time women didn't have that much power. But the answer never was good enough, or the knight never considered the answer good enough to go to the queen with this answer. So one day before his deadline was coming to an end, he decided to return to the castle and accept his fate. On his way to the castle, he stumbled 24 young, beautiful ladies dancing naked in a forest. Okay, they were dancing in a circle, and the knight approaches to the maidens to find if they could give him an answer, because his deadline was coming to an end. As he approaches to the ladies, they all disappear. They vanish. and the only one left was a very old woman who had this kind of witch look, old witch look. And the woman asked the knight what was his question. The knight tells the old woman that he was in his way to accept his fate, as he couldn't find the answer to the question, what women desire the most. The witch old woman tell him that she has the answer. But before tells him the answer, the old woman warned the knight, that if he wants the answer, he will be in debt with her, that he will owe her a favor. The knight rapidly tells her, yes, please tell me the answer, because he was going to die. And as soon as he accepts this, that he's going to owe her a favor, the old woman approaches and whispered the answer to his ear. They both went to the castle, and once the knight arrived to the castle, the queen asked the knight, "What did you discover, or what did you learn from your travel?" And he responds, "My queen, women desire sovereignty and seat rule and government above their husbands, and to have their way in love. Spare me or kill me, as you may desire. I stand here by your will." Okay, so the women in the court were perplexed by the answer, and agreed that that was the answer, that answer was satisfying enough, and the queen forgave his life. In that precise moment, the old woman stand by the queen and demands the knight to return the favor she asked for. She wanted to marry the knight. The knight was surprised by the request and started offering her money, lands, but no, she wanted to marry the knight. As the owner of the knight was just being restored by the things that he did in the past, 1 year ago, he accepted to marry her, but in a small ceremony with no celebration, because he was so sad and so devastated by the fact that he had to marry an old woman. On their wedding night, the old woman says that she can turn herself into an absolutely beautiful maid, but she will be faithless to him. Okay? And or that she can remain an ugly old lady, but always be faithful to him until she dies, until the end of her days. The knight was already dejected by the marriage, and he answered her that it wasn't his choice to decide what she was going to become. She would do anything that she wanted to. The answer pleased the old woman so much, as the knight had finally understood what woman desired the most, and she turned herself into a beautiful young lady and remains faithful to him for the rest of their days. Well, that was the prologue and the tale. I hope you understand that now. Jocelyn's going to explain you the characters of this tale.
Okay, first of all, we have 6 main characters. We recognize 2 from the prologue and 4 for the tale. So first, we have the wife of Bath. Her name was Alison, and she tells her life story, where she has had a lot of lovers before her 5 husbands. As you remember, Maria Ignacia told the story. And She was very self-confident, and she lied a lot, frequently to her husband. And she loved to be free and to do whatever she wants. And also, she loves to have the control. And the second character is Jankin. Jankin was the wife's fifth husband. He was young, he was poor, and extremely difficult to dominate. He was an educated person, but also he was a misogynist. And from the tale, we have the principal, that is the knight. He was a warrior who raped a young girl, and he was sentenced by King Arthur and saved by Queen Guinevere. Then we have the hag, the old woman who saved the knight, and she was who gave the knight the answer that he needs. And then we have the Queen Guinevere, and she was who gave an opportunity to life to the knight. And the King Arthur, and he sentenced the knight to death. Then we have the narrator. First, in the prologue, in this tale we can perceive two types of narrators. First, in the prologue, the wife of Bath, or Alison, plays a role of a protagonist and narrator. It is in first person because the wife tells her own story. And in the second part of the tale, the narrator changes and becomes a third person, and with a limited perspective of the story. It is a witness narrator because she only describes what is she seeing. And also, it should be noticed that the wife interrupts the story to give her own opinion about the tale.
Well, now I'm going to talk about the setting in which the tale takes place. First of all, we need to know that the wife sets her tale hundreds of years before the narration time. And to be specific, in the time of King Arthur, when the land was full of fairies and fantasy creatures. In fact, the wife makes a clear distinction between the world of the tale and the place where they are in the present, which is presumed to be the 1300s, and on the pilgrimage between London and Canterbury. Regarding to the tone of the tale is told in a straightforward way, which means that there is little emotion behind the retelling of events, except for a few moments where you can notice little excitement from the narrator, that in this case is the wife. And that is from the setting.
Okay, so now, yes, okay. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the social culture and the historical background in order to understand a little bit better the story. We have 6 points. I'm going to talk about 3. First, men. At this point in story and history, we are talking about this 13th, 14th century. Men had all the power. Women didn't even have the little power of her voice, like try to talk. No, they were accused of witches and no. So men here had the power over the kingdom, over the women's body, over richness, over poverty, over everything. And that goes me around with the second point, which is status. They were only in this context. They were not medium class. It was lower class or higher class. You were rich or you were poor. There were no in between. With this, I don't know if you remember that I mentioned that the wife quotes the Bible, but the Bible was in Latin and she didn't know how to read Latin. Nevertheless, she was with a friar in the Caribbean. He knows, but she was quote the Bible before because she had a strong point of view regarding some psalms in the Bible. Um, and the church had control over the kingdom. The church was the highest position that you like friar. It was the highest position that you could get. In despite that you were a king, you were a queen. The church will always intercede between everyone, the poor, the rich, because the church had all the power, and the church decided how men was going to behave, how women were going to behave, how poor and rich people will behave, and Cami will explain the next 3 points.
Yes. Following with the idea of Ignacio. Sorry for the noise. I don't know. Okay. Uh, since the tale was written a long time ago, subjects like women and marriage were completely different to what we know nowadays. In that time, it was clear that the relation between husbands and wives was unequal, and that it's not like it changed that much today, but it was different. Women were merely seen as their husband's property, and they had little control over the things they could do, since all the tasks were already decided for them. Also, women were denied the access to proper education. That is why, like Ignacia mentioned, that when the wife uh, quotes the Bible, it was just because someone else tells those quotes to her. And they were just considered objects, and for that reason, they were taught to be good wives and also to please their husbands. Apart from what is mentioned before, stereotypes around women were common in that time. For instance, that women were manipulative, or that they keep secrets and like to gossip, or that they are interested in money only. And as opposite to all of this, we have the wife of Bath, which is completely different compared to women in middle age. Uh, she portrays the image of a strong woman who opposes to these conservative ideas of how women should be, and openly shares her experiences with men, which for that time was considered like inadequate, or it was not proper for a woman, or for women in general. And that is why the wife is like like a rebel, in a manner of saying. And yeah, that is about the social and historical background behind the tale. Now, Nicholas, will continue.
Then we have the literary figure. First, we found many figures, but we decided to demonstrate just four. The first one is allusion, and it is when the narrator mentions the King Midas tale as a reference. Then we have the rhyme. Rhyme, we know that are words that end with the same sound. So we have here the example. No creator saw he that gave sing of life, except on the greensward sitting an old wife. Then we have the simile. Simile is a comparison using the words like or as. So the example is, an all day then he did him like an owl. So here we have the like for the comparison. And then we have the hyperbole. And hyperbole is the exaggerated statements or claims not meant to be taken literally. So we have the exaggeration here, 1,000 times, all in a row, he'd kiss. The 1,000 times is the exaggeration. Then we have the author reference. As we said before, the author is Geoffrey Chaucer. He it's an approximation of the numbers. He was born between 1340 or 1345, and his death was in 1400. It is very difficult to obtain the correct information of the author because, as you can see, many years have passed. So the information that we have for the author it's complicated. First, it is said that his father was a wine merchant, but we don't have concrete registers about his early life or his education. We know that he was a page of a countess called Elizabeth of Ulster. He was sent by the king to different expeditions, and in one of them he was captured by the French and being ransomed by the king. And all these expeditions exposed him to the work of different authors such as Dante, Boccaccio, and Froissart. And he was also a member of the parliament. And in 1387, the book The Canterbury Tales was written, and in which a diverse group of people told stories to pass the time on a pilgrimage to Canterbury. And other works of him is The Parliament of Fools and The Legend of Good Woman. And he is called the father of English poetry. And why is he considered as the father of English poetry? Okay, he is considered the father of English poetry because he was the first poet we have information about, or the first poet that we know by name, because we know that in those years all the tales or the stories were written anonymously. And I think that the most important reason it was because he was the first writer who wrote poems and stories in the language of common people of those years, and the medieval English or the Old English. And this is the most important element because who spoke the Old English were seen as uneducated people because the class differences of those times were very marked, divided mainly by the language they spoke. In those times were French or Latin and English. So in my opinion, and I think that this is the most important reason, he wrote the stories in the Old English or the medieval English for the people, for the common people to read or being educated. And another fact is that he was able to show the reader a picture of the life of those days.
Now I'm going to talk about the symbols that were present in the tale. There were just a few, and I'm going to talk about them. First, we have the old hag. and which for me represents the knowledge. And I interpret this as the wisdom of the hag by giving the knight the right answer. Uh, so, thanks to her knowledge, he could save himself. Then we have the queen, which represents women's sovereignty in the tale. And this is because the queen has the authority to decide over the knight's future and whether he lives or not. And all of this puts women in a position of control in the tale. As opposite to the queen, we have the knight, which represents men's sovereignty. And this is complicated a little bit because at the beginning, the knight clearly holds the power since he takes the virginity of the maiden by force. And despite the fact that there is women supremacy in the tale, at the end you realize that it was just a fairy tale, and men continue to have the power in the real world. Finally, we have flower and nature. And throughout the tale, flowers and nature are used to symbolize women's sexuality. For instance, the wife refers to her sexuality symbolically as a flower, and in the case of fertility, is represented by the flower and the seeds. And in the screen, we can see the example when it says, and certainly if there were no seeds sown, virginity, where then should it be grown? And then we have, I will devote the flower of all my age to all the acts and harvest of my marriage. And here we have the, like explained before, the symbol of the fertility and the sexuality of the wife. Now, the themes.
Okay, so we found out that these four were the things that represented the most the story. First, feminism. Yes, I know that it doesn't sound that feminist, this story, but we have to be contextualized that this story was written many years ago, before even feminism started. So the we can say that the king did not, the king, sorry, the knight, the knight commits commits a rape, and the rest of the tale is concerned about how her journey in order to forgiveness, and that I know that sounds terrible, but the rape was like the part where uh, it is not feminist at all, but the rest of the tale, where he travels and try to find out what women desire, and the power the queen had over him. The queen saved his life. The power the old gag of the witch, the old lady, um, uh, went through the night. We have to be very critical to say that this is feminism. Nevertheless, the for the context and the story and how the wife represents her life, the wife said that it is necessary to get married as much as you want. She expresses her sexuality and desire out loud, something that women couldn't do at that time. The wife is a caricature of how women were not supposed to be in that time. Okay, control the knight thought that he had control and power over the women he raped, over the body, and his punishment was decided by all the women in the court. Yes, the queen gave him the opportunity, but once we arrived with the answer, all the women in the court decided if the answer was pleasant enough. And well, dominance, goes with the same things that I already talked. Actually, I'm not going to start talking about each of them because I want to do a brief, broad, that why this is considered the first feminist tale in history. And well, if we are critical, and at that time, yes, we the answer to the question was women desire sovereignty over their husbands. But what women really desire was the freedom to decide something in the marriage, the freedom to rule over their bodies, and it is clearly stated when the gag, the which the old lady turned herself into a beautiful young lady, only when the knight understood what women desired, control over their bodies, so control over their marriage, and well, that will be, and next slide, please. Questions, comments, anything? We are here for you. No questions? Comments?
I have some
The
questions,
story?
but I would like to wait for the rest of your classmates to make the comments or questions. I'm kind of listening my voice.
I don't know. Did you like the story, classmates? What do you think? Is it feminist?
You would like to read it? It's a very interesting story. I think you should read it.
Feedback? No?
I like the connection you did with these figures as queen, the king, the knight, the probably the connection with a social background, or trying to unveil what these figures meant inside within the story. I like that very much.
Thank you. It is good to be critical about how the what means to be one of these characters in nowadays and that time. It's the two different times. Very
Yes.
many years.
Jocelyn, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What's your personal perception about the wife of Bath and about the tale she tells?
My personal perception, the wife of Bath, the wife as herself. I liked a lot her story because she was completely different from the other women, and I don't know, she was like an impressive person for me at that times. She was, I don't know, I don't know if a good role model, but for me it was that like a rebel, and I like that. And the difference with the story, I didn't see um, a very big difference because at at the final, the hack, this old woman, was who saved the night, and the power is on women of that time because of the queen, the court of women, and I don't know. I like the power of women in this story, in the prologue and in the tale. Is I like that point. Professor, I cannot hear you.
Your microphone is off.
Sorry, I forgot to open the microphone.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you think that the old hag and the wife of Bath are different, or they are actually okay? So do you think they are different or quite similar? I was listening to my voice because I'm connected with the cell phone. That's why I kept hearing over and over my voice again. So if you compare Jocelyn, the wife of Bath, and the old woman, do you think they share some characteristics, or are they quite different characters?
I think that they are pretty similar, not in total, but in terms of power, I think they are pretty similar because the wife have the power to decide over her life, and the old hag have the power to save the man, and also the man gave her the power to decide over her own body too, or her own decisions.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we
Yes.
can.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. I have a second question for Camila.
Yes.
Yes, Camila, what do you think that the wife of Bath declares herself as an expert on marriage? Do you think she's an expert on marriage, and why would she say that? And what do you think about that?
Um, yes, I will say she is an expert, but thanks to her experience, since she, like in the prologue said, she was married 5 times, and I think that gives her the authority to ex, to to explain, or uh, not to explain, but to talk openly about the from the experience, uh, because every married every husband she had was different, and that is what makes her an expert, I think, even though uh, it was all different. Yeah. um, Yeah.
My last question is for Maria Ignacia.
Yes.
Okay. I have well, this is like two questions in one. The first one has to do with because Chaucer is described as an author who uses satire, which is this writing style in which you are mocking, right, other people. You are making fun of people, sometimes using, right, harsh comments when you're attacking people, or sometimes you're just making fun of them. And sometimes people cannot even tell that you are making fun of them because the language used, it's so creative and so witty, so interesting. So in which way do you think he uses satire to describe the wife of Bath? And the second part of the question is, what do you think the wife of Bath was on this pilgrimage? What was she doing there? What do you think might be the purpose of her being on this pilgrimage, on this travel to?
Yes. Okay.
This cathedral.
So I couldn't hear the last part of the question. Professor?
Sorry.
Well,
The second part is the objective or purpose of the wife of Bath on this pilgrimage. Why was she on this travel? What was she doing there? What do you think her actual objectives were?
Okay. So for the first question, I got a good answer. At that time, yes, Chauncey did wrote a satire about the whole Canterbury Tales is a satire. But in the case of the wife of Bath, at that time, women uh, were considered were well. It was not good seen. It wasn't good. It wasn't seen as good that the women had this freedom to talk about their sexuality and and about the sexuality, their body, or if they get married that much. I mean, the wife of Bath had been married 5 times, which tells us that she's very open with her sexuality and with what she thinks. And also in the prologue, she mentions that she has been abused, that she married men only because of their money, and only the last husband she married for love. Also, something interesting is that at that times, at that age, like 14th, 13th century, it was considered by science actually that the sexual desire, the sexual desire was so intense and in women that they had to get women had to get they had to get away from the society because they were not provoking, but yes, they were they were trying to look for men and only to have sex because the desire of having not having a relationship and only to have sex with a man with a knight, it was so uncontrollable by that says by science on those times. Then they discovered that it was the other way around, and they still kept the women apart from society, but that's another point. So oh, I forgot what I was saying. The character of the wife of Bath is a caricature because women were not that way on the specific age that we are talking about. Women were reserved, were quiet, were silent. They had women had to be women were created to be with wives, not to have a open minded point of view, or not to deliver and have freedom over her bodies or freedom over her sexuality. But the wife of Bath was exactly what men didn't want women to be. And well, that was that I think I answered the first question. And for the second question, women were not allowed to travel alone in Caribbeans. And as I already said, all the how the wife was, she wanted to prove that she could do it. She could travel alone in a Caribbean. I don't know if it's clear my point, or I can go a little bit more further. But I can try.
It's clear. It's clear in terms of addressing the first question. Now the type of language, yes, used in the prologue, has to do with this depiction of the character of being an expert. Though the main objective for her was always the money, the power, specifically the wealth. Right? I don't know if that makes you an expert on something, particularly if you declare that only one marriage was out of love. And yeah, the idea of her on this pilgrimage, remember that people have a few activities that were for leisure. So this was a fun activity to go to this cathedral, even though it was mainly for religious purposes. But eventually there were other elements connected with traveling to a different place. Now we cannot leave our houses, but in those times it was difficult, as you mentioned, because of delinquency and all these people that could get robbed, right? So it was also a good plan to leave and ride with other people, to meet other people, and maybe to find another husband. Why not, right? Maybe, yeah, maybe for her it could have been a good plan. Sorry.
Maybe she was traveling because she wanted to find her husband number 6. Nevertheless, despite that, it does not mention in the prologue, or in the Canterbury, in the tale, in the prologue. Yeah, in the prologue. What happened to his 5th husband? We don't know if she lives. She lived his 5th husband, or he died. I'm not sure because he was young. So maybe he leaves them. He leaves him. He leaves him. She leaves him. Yes, she leaves him, and maybe she was running away from him. As you said, I try to imagine what she was doing. I know that she was in the Caribbean because she wanted to prove that women wanted she wanted to prove that women could travel alone. And not alone, but alone in a Caribbean, which is a great deal for that times. But maybe she was escaping from his 5th husband because he hit her until she was deaf. So maybe she was running away from him and trying to find a new good husband, and maybe a new old husband that she was proved that all husbands die fast and they were rich.
Exactly. It's an interesting idea, this description or portrayal of this woman in this society, as you mentioned, in which there was clearly a higher, I'm not stating this now, right? I'm stating this in this context, a male intellectual superiority, and also this idea that men were in charge of all. And therefore, it's interesting that it starts with the raping of a woman, for giving this knight his life to find an answer to a question that, because of males' intellectual superiority, they were supposed to know at that time. So this interesting satire, men do not know all the answers, actually, which is stated clearly in this story, and men need to find the answer from women. And so that speaks a lot about the critical thinking skills of men at that time through satire, right? And eventually he finds the answer, and he is obliged, right, forced to accept that he doesn't have all the answers, and that the control is on the female side. Interesting story, right? That is quite connected with our contemporary times. As you can see, that's what happens with classics, right? That even though they were written 500 years ago or more, we can still relate to them because the book or the story echoes to our own times. That's what's very interesting about these Canterbury tales. I suggest a pause. So if we're having another presentation, we can take a break if you are okay with that, and then we can have a second group presenting another Canterbury tale. Are you all right with having a break now? Thanks.
Yes, that would be great.
All right. All righty. So
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
see you in 5 minutes. So the other group can get ready for the next presentation, if there's any. Is there any other presentation on Canterbury tale?
I'm going to present with Catherine.
Excellent. All righty. So